Well, hey y'all, welcome to Throttle Power. If you're new here, my name's Tim, and this channel is all about the throttle. Well, recently I had a chance to attend a really neat car show in Gas City called the Ducktale Run. One thing cool about the Ducktale Run, they get thousands of cars, and you never know what's going to show up. Well, I was walking around, and two cool dragsters caught my eye. Let's get the camera turned around, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. What is the story on that?
It was in the guy, he was well, he built a 34 Ford with an Allison, and then he decided after Tommy Ivo's Ford motor car, he decided to build this with Allison.
So what year was that built?
It was on the cover of Rod and Custom. I got a picture of it. It was on the cover of Rod and Custom in 1965.
So what engines are those?
They're Allison aircraft engines.
Okay.
They put them in the early P-51s and P-40 Warhawk, and then the P-38 twin fighter plane had those.
Okay. About what year are those engines?
Oh, well, all that shit's World War II.
Okay.
They didn't make none of that shit after the war.
Yeah.
And then after the war, they had those things stacked up like cordwood. They sold them for 100, 150 bucks a piece.
Yeah.
They weren't worth nothing. E.J. Potter would use a torch, and there was more silver in the bearing. He would melt the silver bearings out of them and scrap the rest. When silver was real valuable, he would melt the silver bearings out of them.
Oh, wow.
So, but now they're valuable. Them things, it's hard to buy one of them for under about 25 grand.
Right. Now, how long have you had this car?
I've had this car for about 25 years, but when I got it, had no motors and no body. It was just the chassis. It didn't look like much, but the tires and wheels, there are these tires and wheels in the picture. The rear ends, frame rails, roll bar, steering, dash. But the body was gone and the motors were gone.
Okay.
And I spent 20 years gathering up crap.
Yeah.
To put it together.
Now I heard you just got the other one.
I just got it.
Where'd you find that at?
Well, it's two brothers in Indianapolis started building it in 1960.
We're at Indianapolis. That's where I'm from.
Broad Ripple.
Oh yeah, I know where Broad Ripple is. Rocky Ripple.
They apparently were friends with one of the Allison boys, and that motor was on display at Allison Corporation, and they started building it in 1961, and they run out of time and they run out of money, and they got that far, and it was probably not going to pass any kind of safety standards. As time progressed, they didn't progress. Well, anyway, so the last brother died about 5 years ago, and the son of the other brother died. The other brother died, but his son inherited that from the uncle.
Okay.
And it was down by, it was in a little town right along the Ohio River outside of Louisville.
Okay.
And I seen a picture of it about 4 or 5 years ago, and I saved the picture, but I never could figure out, I couldn't figure anything out. But I had one picture of it, and I thought, I knew it was a 3420. Anyway, long story short, a guy that saw this a year or two ago, got a buddy of mine was here from Minnesota, and he got a hold of him and gave me his phone number, so I called him, and he had found that. And it turned out, I got a picture of it, and it turned out it was the same car that I had saved a picture of and couldn't figure it out. So I went to look at it. It was kind of for sale.
Kind of for sale. I like those cars.
Kind of for sale. Well, it was kind of for sale for about way too much money.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But I also couldn't tell. I just had that one picture, and I couldn't tell if they just built a wagon to set the motor on, or if their engineering was sound. After I got there, their workmanship was a little hokey, but their thinking, you got to have an overdrive. These things only turn 3,000 RPM. So to put that much power to those kind of tires, you need an overdrive.
Okay.
This guy never got this one running because he was trying to get one-to-one ring and pinions. So he wanted to turn these tires 3,000 RPMs because the motors would go 3,000. If you put even a 2.5, you're only going to turn these tires 1,500 RPMs or less. So you need almost one-to-one because they don't turn 8,000 RPM. So these guys, they got 2.5 to 1 old Pontiac rear ends adapted to those Army axles. And then they built that banjo gearbox with the intent of overdriving everything 2 to 1. So when they get done, they're going to have a 1.25 to 1 final drive. And their mathematics were good. The nephew, the guy that owned it after his uncle died, he said they planned to go 300 mile an hour and a quarter at 1,500 RPMs. And if you do the math, if I'm right about that being a 2 to 1, that puts it at 1.25, and the circumference of that tire with that gear ratio will put you at 300 mile an hour at 1,500 RPM. And that was their plan. It ain't practical to do anything with, but to look at.
Right.
But it really needs some body work over the back. They just didn't, and the body work they made, my saying is Tom Hanna, you know the name Tom Hanna. Tom Hanna didn't build that shit.
Now, does the blue one run?
No.
Okay.
It's got display motors. They figured out they could buy blowed up junk from tractor pullers.
Ah, okay.
They blew up millions of these, not millions, but
right.
I would say hundreds, if not hundreds. But what was funny, I found tractor pullers with blowed up stuff, but they wouldn't part with nothing. It was a goddamn phenomenon I'd ever seen, because I figured out the tractor pullers had multiple motors. They had some piles of blowed up junk, and I had decided that blowed up junk was perfect for this because it never ran anyway. It just needed to look like the picture.
So that was in the movie Beach Blanket?
No, it was called Out of Sight. Had George Bear's cars in it. The name of the movie was Out of Sight.
Oh, okay.
And this was, they had this on display at the state fair. And it's not in there but about 30 seconds, but they pan around the whole car in the movie. And I don't know why they did it, but they had drag stuff going on at the state fair. It's one of them 60s.
And that was the movie Out of Sight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But this kind of stuff needs preserved.
Yeah.
I think it needs preserved.
Oh, I agree.
My wife wonders if I'm nuts.
Well, what'd you think about those dragsters? Let me know in the comments below. One thing I liked about it was Mike basically saved these things. They were, who knows what was going to happen to them, but he's purchased them. He's going to save them. He's showing them so we can all enjoy. I bought a t-shirt from him. He sells really cool t-shirts. Here's the back of it. Cool shirt. So if you want to see the footage on the Ducktale show, I'll put those links in the comments right here. We'll see you on the next video on Throttle Power.